Well, I'm glad everybody's well. And so are the Steelers, kind of. They're
Florida.
in first place in the AFC North. And I got to tell you guys, I'm a little torn right now. I can't, in good faith for myself, come on here and rip them again. I can't. As Mike Tomlin said of something a couple weeks ago, it's now a pattern. If you're winning games in the AFC North, no matter how ugly, then you're winning games in the AFC North. I wrote a column this morning saying we should be celebrating Pickett. This is not unlike Ben from a couple games early in his career. The Santonio Holmes miracle, the Isaac Redmond pass. Both those games against the Ravens, both of them heavily aided by John Harbaugh, I might add, and his idiotic pass calls.
This was Pickett's fifth come from behind game and fourth game-winning drive.
That's right.
At the very
Two of
end.
them against the Ravens.
His
first two starts against the Baltimore Ravens have resulted in dramatic game-winning drives, long drives, late. One of Ben's drives, the legendary Isaac Redmond game, was a 9-yard drive set up by the defense. The only touchdown they scored that night. The Santonio Holmes game, he was horrible the whole game. But you know what? When they had to go 92 yards to win it, he did it, and they won. More at stake there. Ben was already a star there. I get the differences. But Kenny Pickett shows me something here. It doesn't matter what happened in the game when you get the ball with a chance to win. He won. He beat the Ravens twice.
The only thing I'll disagree with, Joe, is you can't stink for 55 minutes. And
Ben did.
And then pull it up. But most of the time you're going to be behind like you were against Houston or behind like you were against San Francisco.
You're talking in general. I get it.
I
get it. He is 10-7, though.
I understand. I mean,
which isn't great, but it's okay.
I mean, it's impressive finish for him. There's no doubt. But the offense stunk again.
I know.
I mean, stunk.
So is that for me? Like I said, for me, I cannot in good conscience come in here and rip the Steelers today. I can't.
It's not
they
a
beat
Rembrandt.
The Ravens.
It's not a Rembrandt, not a Mozart, as Cowher would say, but they're in first place.
Is it much different than the night that Troy leapt over the Ravens line and forced a fumble down to the Ravens 9 and an offense that stunk all game? Ben then threw the ball out of bounds on a legendary play and then threw to Isaac Redmond. That offense stunk that night. The defense won the game, but guess what? He still had to make the throw, and guess what? It's a legendary throw in Ben's career. Pickett's 2 for 2 against the hated Ravens with 2 gutsy late drives. That, for me, that's the accent today.
It's all about making plays at the right time. But, as I said last night, I'll say it, you can't play this brand of football and expect to win every single week. You just can't. Because they had to make many plays. They had to come up with things that are not sustainable week to week to week. The defense cannot continue to make plays.
And you're not going to play an opponent that hands the game to you.
I think Baltimore
3 touchdown passes they
had
dropped.
a lot.
3.
Right. And if they make those, especially the one early on to Rashad Bateman, was right in his hands. He had just made
the long one to Aguilar?
Aguilar was wide open. I mean, I get it.
And then not to get the field goal at the end of the first half.
Right.
I'm convinced 13-3 Ravens at halftime would have been insurmountable. That they wouldn't have been able to come back with that offense.
I think John Harbaugh has been a horrific game manager against the Steelers. And let's say this piece of truth right now, by the way. Mike Tomlin owns him right now. That's 6 out of 7. So, again, I'll go back to that phrase. It's no longer luck. It's a pattern now. 6 of 7?
You can argue the Steelers own Lamar, too, right?
Absolutely.
1-3 against them as a starter.
Boy, he looked good early, and then all of a sudden the defense got to him a little bit, and he had to try to make plays.
He didn't look like he was worth $260 million to me yesterday.
No.
Although I just said they dropped 3 touchdown passes.
First half, if you factor out the drops into catches, and I think it's reasonable to do that, he would have had a huge passer rating, and they would have been up
What did he
comfortably.
do with the game on the line?
He didn't do much.
To me, nothing. It's like talking about a baseball game when the closer comes in.
No, you're right.
You know, who cares how we got there?
You're right.
I don't care if the offense left the bases loaded 40 times. It's up to the closer now, and the offense has nothing to do with it up to that point. Can you close the game? Lamar couldn't. He made a horrific mistake. They should have gone for the field goal anyway and just run the ball, and then Pickett did. Pickett wins that game.
Okay, and here's the thing that you won't find too much out there. And, again, the guy's been bashed every which way.
Which
Matt
guy?
Canada.
Matt,
But I have it on pretty good authority. There was no audible on that play to to George Pickens. It was designed all week.
Warren said after the game that he changed the play at the line of scrimmage.
Okay.
Now, maybe he changed the blocking part of it.
Maybe, but he also noticed because they were working on that potential. Now, that's another coaching mistake by John Harbaugh. You don't have Freiermuth. You don't have Deontay Johnson. You have one guy, and you're going to leave him to a guy who just came back from injury all day. I'd go after that all day, and they did pretty much with 10 targets.
They left their third-string tackle against TJ alone on multiple plays. This guy
Harbaugh was completely smoked over by Mike Tomlin.
He mismanages games like nothing. For historical perspective, just let me run over those plays, Ron. The 2008 Santonio game. Ravens have it at the Steelers' 27. They need a field goal to go up by 6 and force a Steeler touchdown. They call timeout. He endorses a pass play. Timmons sacks Flacco. The ball's fumbled. Ravens recover, but it's a 14-yard loss. Then they punt, and then Ben does his magic. I just mentioned the Redmond one. Ravens are near midfield. They're winning the game. The Steelers need a touchdown to win the game. On third down, he drops Flacco back again. That's when Troy flies over the line. The ball pops out. Woodley picks it up and races it to the 9. Then we saw this crap yesterday. What is he doing? What's he doing? You have an easy 3 points at the end of the half with Justin Tucker, and your best ideas will try and draw him off sides. Let's send the offense back on the field. And this was to me.
Even there was only 13 seconds left or something.
Right.
Even if he drops them off,
exactly.
Are they going to just have time to score a touchdown?
He's out thinking himself.
They're going to kick a field goal anyway.
What is he doing? And then Lamar, when he sees that everything is discombobulated, and this to me was a worse mistake than the pass to Porter. Porter was a physical mistake, a terrible throw. What is he doing? And then you watch it on slow-mo, and the ball is snapped to Lamar, and nobody on either team moves, which indicates that they're telling the truth. First of all, that Linderbaum snapped it
when he shouldn't,
because he thought they were offside, which, as Ron says, they would have gained nothing. So Lamar has the ball in his hands. You can watch it on replay, and nobody on his team or the other team has moved. He should have seen before the snap, oh, my God, this is not working, and called timeout, and he didn't.
Well, if you saw Harbaugh's face at that point, he knew.
It's his fault.
It's his fault. Again, you're getting too
and Lamar's
too deep
fault
in this. You take the 3 points. There's 13 seconds left. A 10-point, 2-possession game.
I think it would have been insurmountable.
Would have been difficult. And again, you needed things to happen in the second half. To give the Steelers credit, their defense does step up in these kinds of situations.
Not just their defense. How about Harmon Killebrew?
Yeah.
Again, he's had one in each of the last 3 years.
Yeah,
the one in Buffalo, remember, Joe, turned that game around.
It led to a win on the road.
Game, and that turned this game around.
And he has this knack of doing it. But, again, he gave a lot of credit to Danny Smith, and I agree with that because they do practice
Tomlin
things
said they
based
had a block on.
They had it, and you have to know when to call it, and they figured, we need something happen here. They're up against their goal line. Let's do it here. They're lucky the Ravens that wasn't a touchdown.
Do you think
Rodney Williams made a really nice play, and I honestly thought they were going to overturn that when I first saw it.
I was just going to ask that. Does a little part of you still wonder if that is one elbow a touchdown?
I always thought if you got one down,
I thought one body part. Steratore said. I still think it might have been a touchdown.
Not two. Yeah, I thought they were going to overturn it and make it a touchdown
because of the left elbow.
Actually, both were down.
The elbow has to go down before the forearm. It's against physics, isn't it? Kind of to have it go the other way.
If you're holding the ball,
Ron, I still wonder if he scored a touchdown.
I didn't see it
if the elbow's down.
You know what? We didn't see it in the press box close enough.
I thought it
to
was.
See it.
I really did.
I kept watching it this morning. I'm
I thought
wait
both
a second.
elbows were in.
Yes. Do you think Harbaugh, Ron, gets inducted into the Steelers Hall of Honor someday? How many times is this guy going to do this?
I don't know. And Lamar just did not look like a $260 million quarterback to me in the second half.
Was he frustrated? They own him. If every coach out there, including the other two guys in the AFC North, isn't studying what Tomlin does to Lamar Jackson, then they're idiots.
Yes, but also, as Ron mentioned many times, they got lucky there for a few times.
They did. They did.
Receivers down the field like Zay Flowers who fell when he was wide open. There were drops all over the place.
That's true. That's
true. That's hard to blame on the coach.
Yeah.
Having said that, he hasn't looked like Lamar the MVP in any of his games against
Nope.
the Steelers.
Nope. And once the Steelers got the lead, it didn't feel like he was capable.
And he couldn't
come
finish.
back. No.
I don't know about you guys, but based on history, including last year, maybe you all feel differently. I honest to God thought as I was watching the second half, the Steelers are going to win this game. I almost had no doubt. Honestly, in spite of their offensive difficulties, I thought they were going to win the game.
When it was 10-3, I thought it was possible. 13-3, I would have said no.